Hello, gorgeous, and welcome to the Midlife Realignment. I'm your host, Esther Blum, and I'm here to disrupt the narrative on perimenopause and menopause with humor, nutrition, hormones, and fierce self-advocacy. Together, we'll rewrite your story and the rules because there's a light at the end of the vaginal tunnel. Let's go. Today, I have one of my ride or dies with me. Nora Neiterman is a creative director, brand strategist, and spiritual guide, helping women reconnect with identity, healing, and creative expression. She founded Unsweetened New York, a fashion label that evolved into a movement, carried in high-end boutiques, and loved for its unapologetic storytelling. Behind this success, Nora was balancing motherhood, caring for aging parents, running a business, and navigating perimenopause until burnout and loss forced her into a deep transformation. Through psychedelic therapy, nervous system work, and creativity as medicine, she rebuilt from the inside out. Today, Nora is redefining what it means to be a leader and creator, opening conversations on the cost of having it all, and how women can design brands, products, and lives that don't just look good, but feel good. Welcome to the show, Nora.
That's so exciting. I'm like, wow, whoever she's talking about is fucking cool.
So I will never forget the launch of your brand, Unsweetened New York. You had, 10, 15 of your close posse in your living room and in your office, and you had designed this incredible line of tops for women, and we were all furiously trying them on. You had targeted questions for us to fill out and answer about the fit and the form and the messaging, and I would love for you to share the genesis of how you truly birthed an entire brand from absolutely nothing.
I love that you remember that. I actually didn't remember that until you just said, Unsweetened was birthed from absolute chaos. And it was a labor of love that really the aha moment was in a fitting room. I was trying on some tees. I was with my boys. They were young at the time, probably 5 and 7. Wrestle arena, trying on, just the shirt was about staying calm and the fit was terrible. And at that moment when the chaos was going on and I was getting like pissed at the kids and, of course, like the just everything that was happening in that fitting room, I was like, where is the shirt for this? For the women that are dealing with this? Like, never mind whatever it was, be calm, carry on. Like, I don't know. That never resonated with me. I was like, be calm, carry on. So that was the aha moment of, like, if I could design something, if I could take all my textile experience and I could take all my branding and all of the things that I have done in the past, because I was in product development and I designed packages in home furnishings for Target, Walmart, restoration hardware, but I had no experience in fashion, 0. So when I decided to do this, it was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. I want to have it made in New York City. I don't want to strip out all the details that I had to do with home furnishings to make like an opening price point. I wanted it to be quality. I wanted it to be detailed, badass, and I wanted it to encompass all of the moods and all of the shit that was going on in women's lives. So like a mood ring for your body. So, ranging from absolutely the pure love as we feel as a mother, right? Like there's nothing more sacred than a mother's love. But there's also a psycho part of us as mothers, which birthed the Psycho Mother shirt, which is probably one of the most famous OG Unsweetens. And Calm to Crazy and Love My Boys, Mother Love. These were some of the first, 10 tank tops that I came out with zero knowledge of what I was doing. There was no like grand plan. I wrote down my business plan on a Xerox paper And do you still call it Xerox paper?
Yeah,
That
I'm
sounds
like,
so
what
dated.
is a
I don't know.
Xerox paper?
Well, copy paper. And it was, but I had a vision. I always saw it. And when you see it and when you feel it, you know you're on the right path. Like there was just everything that came along. It was like I felt in my soul, like there is absolutely, without a doubt, a chance that I am not making this successful. Like I never felt that I was not going to take this all the way. It was green lights. And of course there were things that, there were business issues or I had to pivot, a manufacturer before launch, all of those things that go into running a business. But I knew that I was onto something, and I knew that the authenticity of what I was putting out there was going to resonate with women. And it did.
I know. It was like you gave all of us, not only did you give us all a voice, but you gave us permission to say the unhinged shit that no one was talking about. Like, I want to fucking kill my kids today. Yeah. My kids are assholes today. I just and you let us all unleash our inner psycho mothers, but in a safe place, in a contained space.
Right. With zero judgment, and being able to recognize that just because we have that moment, like Psycho Mother was born when I was trying to get one of the boys in the car seat. The car seat is the kryptonite of all mothers. And you're like, you're in a public place and you're like, come on, honey, let's get in, that gentle parenting that we've all been told that we have to do, right? Come on, honey, get in the car seat. And they're like the arching of the back. And then it's like the Psycho Mother comes out and you're like, get in the goddamn car seat. And we all have those moments. And it doesn't mean you're a bad mother. It doesn't mean anything. It means you're human. Yeah. And it means that, we all have a breaking point. And guess what? Guess who gets in the car seat when Psycho Mother comes on? Yeah, they get in the car seat, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's this shame that we have been, I don't know where it's come from, but this shame of like, if we have these moments, we have to hide them, bury them. And so Unsweetened was a movement of like, you don't have to hide, you don't have to bury, we're all in this shit. And even, Turbo Mom that looks like she has it all together, like, it's okay. You can let your freak flag fly. Put on an Unsweetened.
That's it. Oh my God. It was such a mood. It was a mood ring.
Yeah.
And, it also gave us permission to laugh. Like, I will never forget. I mean, our boys did some funny shit together, and I'll never forget. Your boys were over the house, and Jake and Luke were over, and Ben decides to climb this tree, tree, and he gets all the way to the top and then falls 7 feet down. And we all just looked at each other. Once we knew he was okay, we were just laughing and laughing, crying, laughing, horrified. But other moms might have been freaked out by that. Or I remember Ben climbed, we were at a farmer's market, and he climbed, it was easily a 25-foot pine tree. And this lady kept screaming at me, your son is up in the tree. I was like, I know he's up in the tree. Let him climb and learn. And yes, he may fall. He may break a bone, but he's going to learn.
He
may break a bone or 10.
He may break a bone.
But like, this is us, the children of the 70s, the Gen Xers, who rode bikes without helmets and didn't always wear a seatbelt. And,
Didn't always, never.
Yeah,
there was no seatbelt in our car.
Well, yeah, I mean, my mom had been in a horrible car accident, so we always wore seatbelts. But yes, I mean, there were a ton of things that we did and we survived. And it's like, let our kids be resilient, let them fail a little. I let Ben ride his bike to school in 4th grade. And I had to put a post on Facebook telling everyone in the neighborhood that he was riding his bike to school because parents kept texting me and calling me. I was like, he's riding his bike to school. He's not committing murder, guys. It's okay. Yeah. But people were freaked out. And so I feel like your tops just like, it did let our freak flags fly, or just normalize just parenting, free range parenting.
Yeah. And it was just, it just felt, that it was at the time when, I was in my early 40s. Like, I think I started Unsweetened at 43. And at the time, I didn't know it because nobody ever told me. And it wasn't in the time that we're living now, thanks to amazing practitioners like yourself that talked about perimenopause. But I am pretty sure that I was in the throes of perimenopause, which never would ever enter my mind because, I just had a baby at 36. Why would I be that wasn't on my radar when, these moments were happening. And so ladies, if you're in your early 40s, let that be on your radar. So I think that it was a time when women needed, and still the time, but at the time when I started it, I felt like women needed it. And I did what was crazy, and I think back to it, is without zero experience. And it was such an organic process, Esther. I didn't overthink it. I never let any noise in my head about hey, this isn't going to work. I never had a doubt in my mind. So that's when you have those feelings and you have that moment, and when you have that, you fucking ride it. You go and you do it. And it's the same thing when that feeling stops. You got to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. And watching you ascend was just, I was so stoked for you, Nora, to just see you get in all retail stores and boutiques and very high-end hotel boutiques. But you were doing this all still while this was your side hustle to your full-time job.
Yeah, it started as a side hustle. Yeah, it started as a side hustle. I wanted to bring in some extra income. My son had to go to a amazing school for dyslexia, and it was, expensive. And so it was really, I never started it as I'm going to have this fashion company. It was a side hustle. And I think that was part of the magic of it, because it didn't have the pressure of being this certain thing. I never thought, I need this to be X, Y, and Z or make this much money. It was doable. I was okay, I want to make this to pay for Luke's school, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be badass, and it's just going to be awesome. And it's going to be my girlfriends. It's going to be a rally cry for women. And I never really thought past that, I never had this 5-year plan of I want to grow, I want to scale. It was just very, very organic. And I think that's where most of the magic came from Unsweetened. And then as it started ramping up and getting in more and more stores, and which was amazing, I also started ramping up. It became not my part-time, it became my full-time, and then it became over my full-time. It became my whole life. And at the same time as it started to grow, and, don't get me wrong, I loved it. I loved every single part of growing this brand. It was fucking awesome. And it's still awesome. But that build up and as you see your stuff and you are getting more clients and you see your stuff next to all the amazing denim, and you're just you're just so, you see it happening. But at the same time, life was going on. And at the same time as the come up was coming, there was real things that were happening in my life that, because there was all this momentum over here, it just this kept rising, and there was no acknowledgement of all of it happening at the same time. You throw in perimenopause, raising little kids, getting their needs met, whether it's through, learning disabilities or whatever challenges were going on as young children, parents getting sick, and then running a business, growing business. And then, you throw in a marriage in there, right? Like you just like throw the marriage in there as like the last thing in the stew. And it just starts and then you throw in a pandemic, right? Like then things start shifting.
Yes.
Things start shifting.
Yes. And we always quote the the Spider-Man line, with great power comes great responsibility. Yes. And in this upward vortex of success, the universe starts to balance you out, and it says, okay, Nora, we're going to put all this success on your plate. And with that is going to come a shit ton of financial pressure, expectations, and wickedly fighting, trying to balance the scales, trying to balance a lack of sleep, the needs of your family, a traveling husband, and a mom who is this incredible woman who starts to get sick. Yes. And starts to really put more and more on your plate.
Are you wondering how I did with that challenge?
I kind of am. Well, how did you do with that challenge, Nora?
I did awesome for a while. I was a fucking warrior. Really awesome. Like I was doing it all, and I was like crushing it in every way. And the way I was crushing it is that I was an undiagnosed ADHD my whole life. Totally my superpower. And then I had a girlfriend was like, yeah, I got diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, and they gave me these pills, and I'm like, I don't eat, and I am like so productive. I was like, oh shit, I think I have ADHD all my life. I'm also going to go and get evaluated. And I did. And that was the start of like turbo superwoman, because then I added stimulants into my life, which, I'm a big proponent. And I've always been a proponent of medicine, whatever you need, So for me, going on the ADHD medication was like, I was like unstoppable. It's like basically legal cocaine, like packaged up in a nice bow. So I started basically working. I would work around the clock. I would probably get 4 hours a night. And I remember you would say to me in such a loving way, hey, do you think you're getting enough sleep? Like, I'm worried about you. And I would be like, are you kidding, Esther? I'm thriving. Like, I obviously don't need a lot of sleep. Look what I'm putting out here. Like, I wore it as such a badge of honor. Yeah. And it was my superpower, because I was cranking out tremendous amount of work and production. And it was just like, I felt unstoppable. I really did. And then I would, have my couple of glasses of wine at night, and just, it was all the things. Like, it was all the things that kind of aided to being so productive. And as all of the things started just coming on.
Yeah. It got you through that.
And it got me through.
It got you through. And also, what most women don't realize is the contribution of perimenopause to ADHD diagnoses or worsening symptoms if you've had undiagnosed ADHD. And we should absolutely bring in medications when indicated, but also hormones with it. And you hadn't yet
there were no that wasn't
support.
The perimenopause wasn't even in my mind, because I was still very much getting my period. It wasn't even on the radar for me.
That's right.
So it wasn't on the radar. What was on the radar was that I was in this mode of scaling my business. And I had, as a business grows, you put more and more money into it, right? So the financial pressure does grow. And the timing, and then just it just keeps ramping up, ramping up, ramping up. And then I couldn't handle it anymore. And then there came a time that, and it wasn't when I buried my mother. It wasn't when my boys were going through hard times. I powered through all of those hard things. It was when you least expect it, on a quiet evening, working, and there's a conversation about like financial P&L, and then you break. So the thing about going and going and going and being a freight train is eventually you have to stop. And there was no prediction. I didn't even know what was happening in my own body. It was like I had abused myself so bad without even knowing it, because it wasn't an outward abuse. It was an internal abuse. It wasn't like I was going out and, partying and doing, I was like productively abusing my body without sleep, with being on, stimulants, with alcohol, with like barely eating, just like it was a silent abuse, and it was a silent like deterioration of myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to that, so Nora and I have these morning calls where one of us answers the phone, suicide hotline, how may I help you?
I know, which some people might not find funny, but it comes from a place of like, like crisis. Like sometimes we've had some pretty crisis calls.
Dark night of the soul calls.
Dark night of the soul.
And you and I, for years and years and years, were both women who wrapped up our identity in finance and money wounds and never feeling enough. And really tied our worthiness to the amount of money we were bringing into our homes.
Yeah.
And so because our husbands, had work, didn't have work, and just were in between. So of course we're stepping in and we're carrying the load, which is a very heavy load when you're also raising your children, when you're also caring for sick parents. And so there were times when I would check on you and you would say, I've been under my desk on the floor. I can't get out of bed. And, inch by inch, you got yourself out of bed. But I feel like the greatest transformation in you came when you actually allowed yourself to be in the hole and just grieve for a while and say, it's okay that I'm falling apart. Like, this is actually all part of the greater plan. And there isn't an entrepreneur who doesn't go through that. I always follow, you and I talk a lot about Sarah Blakely, the creator of Spanx. And I mean, she's had horrible, dark times and all of it. And it is the entrepreneur's journey. I wish there was a better way through it.
But I think I wish there was a better way, but I think that's where the beauty is, Esther. Like if I were to, and it took me a while to kind of dissect all of this. This isn't like, an epiphany of like, this happened. This is years of kind of undoing and making peace with like a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And so I do want to crack open that next chapter is just that breakdown.
Yeah.
And the being never enough. You got to a point where you'd had enough of being never enough. And you decided to do some incredible spiritual work. And especially after your mom died, you really had the freedom. And guys, like Nora's mom, I had the privilege of meeting Dorothy. And I am an excellent reader of energy. And I had only met one other maternal figure like her in my life who just her energy was so fierce and so incredible. And I met her later in her life. It wasn't even her younger years. And she was just so fierce and so mama bear, but just so knowing and so powerful and so present. And what a gift to have met her. So I really,
thank you.
I would love to delve deeper into what launched really the next chapter of your life. And completely profoundly changed you, Nora, from a very dysregulated nervous system and just a totally different sense of worthiness to an ever-present work in progress, but also just a completely leveled up version that has a lot more peace in her life right now.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. When you said that I was lying under the desk, so that actually happened, the lying under the desk. That came in 2022, lying under the desk, I think that was, yeah. There was a moment when I just felt that no matter what I was doing, it just wasn't enough. My own inner voice of you're not enough, you're not doing good enough. And I had been working, I knew that I was teetering. I felt something off, and I had started the Gabby Bernstein 21-day manifestation challenge. I had never been a meditator. I couldn't possibly meditate. I was just too much going on and, not just doing. So I was like, I'm going to do the Gabby Bernstein 21-day meditation. That was starting in the new year. And I also did the polar plunge for the new year. Those were the two things I was like, okay, I'm going to start with these two things. I'm going to start. And I was feeling really, really great. I was done with the meditation challenge and manifestation challenge. And then my husband, who, by the way, is probably one of the most amazing people you'd ever meet, he had sat me down and to go over some projections of the business. And it was just he wasn't saying anything wrong, but it was just the magnitude of what we were talking about. And I had been working so hard and so many hours. And when we had this little meeting, I just broke. And I was like, how could I possibly get here when I'm one step away from just breaking? And I went into my office and I just fell apart, and I was enraged. I was just so broken. I felt like my spirit was broken, and I just went under my desk and I just sobbed. And I then decided to dismantle my office. All of my mantras and positive things and my vision board was fucking ruined. I just started like a psychopath, just taking it down. This is all bullshit. And my mother was a student of Ram Dass. She was into mindfulness and meditation and gurus before it was a thing, in the 70s. That's how I was raised. But it was always, I never was interested in it. It was just always oh yeah, my mom, she's into that shit. So that was always in my DNA. So when I decided to, just completely dismantle all of the positive things that were around me, my mother came to visit me that night, and she opened up a drawer in my office, and mind you, I was completely sober at the time. There was no drugs, alcohol, no psychedelics. This was stone cold sober. And
she was dead, by the way, at this point, people.
She was very dead.
The drawer in your office literally sprung open.
Yes,
that had her
slid
journal.
Open gently, and it was a small notebook that was on top. And I opened up the notebook, and there was one page, and it was a quote from Louise Hay, and it said, "All is well. Out of this situation, only good will come, and I am safe." And that was my mom's mantra. She always said, and there was more into that quote. And it was that moment that I was like, damn, this woman who was out in the galaxies, like chilling, she came back because she was like, I can watch her physically go down. I could watch her mentally go down. But spiritually, oh, fuck no. I'm coming to shake her.
And she came to shake you too.
And she did. And and that was the turning point for me of like, you got to get your shit together. Like, you got to step up. You got to take care of yourself. Because at that moment, Esther, I really felt like I was going to die. I didn't know how. It felt like I was just so broken in a way. And remember, nobody knew. Like, if you were to go on the Instagram, shit was tight. Like, everything was thriving. Everything was thriving.
Of course. So everyone wants to ride in the limo with you, but no one wants to ride with you when the bus breaks down.
No. But my people knew.
We do.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a core group of like ride or dies that like everyone, but so that was the moment that really changed me. And I was like, okay, you need to find out what's going on here. So, and I started feeling like creatively blocked, like a little, like I didn't know, I felt like the brand had been taken into another level of like, I didn't know really if I was designing the right things, because I also had now showrooms from giving me input, and they were all amazing, but I kind of just like, it just took on, Unsweetened took on a world of its own, and I just didn't know where to go next. I really didn't. And it was all great, I felt that flow that I talked about in the beginning, that the green lights and the flow, it started feeling very blocked. So I started meditating. I started stacking, cold plunging, different cold showers, just simple things. Those two things were like my kind of guiding thing of like, get your ass in that cold shower and meditate. That was it. That was like how I started. And then I felt like I needed to go and search for this unlock creativity. I was like, I think I'm feeling good now. I want to unlock some creativity. I feel blocked. And I started to work with a psychedelic therapist. And I started microdosing psilocybin. And I was a very big fan of psychedelics in college, going to FIT in the 90s. I mean, me and psychedelics, we had a lot of fun.
Tight.
We were fun. We had fun. But, that was like the artist's way. So, and I thought, what a great idea to go and back and do a psychedelic journey, because that always in art school was a way to really get creative. Why wouldn't it be now in my late 40s, right? Or 50. So I decided to do some psychedelic work, which was really the catalyst of where I'm at now, which is not for the fucking weak.
No. So do you want to share what you went out to the desert with a cohort of, how many were there, 6 to 10?
There were 7 strangers.
7 strangers.
And so I really went out there with the intention of unlocking creativity and just reigniting passion within me of like, what that looks like again. And the thing with psychedelic work and psychedelic therapy is, you go in with this intention, but, if I were to go back, I would be like, I would say it a little different. I would be like, I want this shown to me with ease and grace. But I didn't. I was like, fucking A, let's get creative. Let's unblock the creativity. Let's get to it. And I never even thought what could possibly be blocking my creativity. You don't think of that. You just think of like, I was thinking like, oh, yay, it's going to be colorful and shapes and geometry and beautiful, Joshua tree. So anyway, let's just say there was a lot of stuff that had to be unblocked. And yeah, a lot.
And plants don't show you anything other than what you need to know.
Yes.
But it doesn't always come in a pretty package.
Oh, no.
And for you, it was like this dark night of the soul journey that, again, had you literally on the floor crawling once again.
Yes.
So,
So for me, it was like I was a true creative. I was like, oh yeah, show me the colors, show me all the fun, great stuff. I'm going to be inspired. And I left there feeling so beautifully supported and loved by my mom. And I mean, there's a lot that we can do 20 podcasts about that whole thing. But the reality was, when I got home, I was feeling incredible. And I wouldn't say that anything drastically changed in me creatively, because I didn't have this epiphany of like, oh, I'm going to now design this line that's going to be my best yet. No. What happened was I started binge eating. And I didn't even realize it. At the time, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is wild. And then I started at the same time putting on weight. But I felt great. Even though this was happening, there was a side of me that felt great. I know this probably is going to sound all so fucking whacked out. But anyway, the binge eating was something that I had battled when I was a little girl. And I had thought that for a very long time that was gone. I mean, I hadn't binged eat in forever. But what I learned through the psychedelic therapy was that I wasn't binge eating the rest of my life, but I certainly was masking and stuffing down my feelings. That was another kind of continuation of the eating disorder, whether it was the ADHD medication that made me not eat. There was always this underlying thing that had to do with food, this unhealthy relationship with food. And so when I asked in that desert to be unblocked creatively, I never in a million years thought that shit would have been dug up. Like, never. But there it was.
There it was. And if I can interject, the way for anyone who is new to psychedelics, it does a genuine rewiring of the nervous system, the nerve and the communications in your brain in particular, and it makes your cells have neuroplasticity. So you did not need your Adderall anymore after the desert.
No.
Which
so I came off, right. I
unleashed.
came off all my medication.
Yeah.
I had and it wasn't intentional. I never set out to do that. I just didn't feel like I needed it. I stopped drinking alcohol, which was like my love language for my whole life. Being an Irish, person, it was like, you're given alcohol in the bottles. So all of my kind of things that I used for keeping feelings at bay, they were gone. They were stripped down. So it was like I was so raw and open. And so within that psychedelic work, I learned that my eating disorder came from really not feeling and just trying to escape feelings and that control. And when I was feeling things as a little girl, I was fed. When there was bad news, when there was a death, when my parents were getting divorced, it was like, sit down, we're going to have an ice cream sundae. By the way, Dad and I are getting divorced. So bad news was greeted with sugar or dessert. And I had to with the help of psychedelics, I was able to work on the neuroplasticity of my brain, of reteaching myself how to have a relationship with food and not to and to really feel. It really came down to allowing myself to feel all of it without any masks. And when I was able to do that, that's when I really felt this like sense of peace. And I don't know if I've ever felt that in my whole life. I think I've been so anxious without even knowing what anxiety looked like. And I am, so as I'm here now in the place of the work that I've done now, and I went looking for this creativity and I found this whole other side of myself. How do you still resonate with this company that you built from this anxiety and this place? Yeah. So that started to really fuck me up because my whole brand was built on authenticity and showing what my real life was like. And hey, come along with me on this ride of like what life is like. And so now it's like I'm including it all. Like I'm sharing this side of me because I don't think a lot of people know this side of me. And it's a little scary because, you know, the ego says, well, what will people think? Will they not think you're badass? Will a client not want to work with you because of this? But I'm really so at peace with where I'm at. And I think I'm fucking more badass and better than ever. So in every way, I feel like I show up to my kids better, to my husband better, to my relationship with work better.
So what people, where we need to bridge the gap here in your story is your pivot. And all of a sudden you questioning your business and saying, okay, this fit and worked for a long time, but now it doesn't feel as in alignment as it did before, because with your psychedelic journey and releasing the ego also meant for you taking a step back from your business and saying, is this in alignment? Does this represent my values? I don't want to grind anymore. I'm not going to grind anymore. That's over for me. You released so much from your life. You sold your house. You moved to a new house. You know, Andy pivoted his career as well. You launched a son to college, right? And so all of a sudden, you sat and said, what's left? What's next for me? And you went on another spiritual journey, not a psychedelic one. It was a sober spiritual journey with Modern Elder Academy, with the amazing Chip Connolly. And all of a sudden, the universe said, Nora, you have cleared the way for all of these things. And when we clear out things, all we are doing is preparing to receive more. It wasn't a failure on your part. It didn't mean you didn't have your identity. You're still Unsweet New York, but you're pivoting now. And so as a result, you are now birthing a book out of this experience. So can we talk about your MEA journey and kind of where you are now in your career? Because I think giving ourselves permission to let go of our lives have chapters. Yeah. It's not just the same chapters. You know, our parents were often single career people, right? My dad was a doctor his whole life. My mom was a nurse her whole life. There was no chapters. It was just one long book.
No seasons.
No seasons. You have had many seasons, and that is undoubtedly your life's purpose.
Yeah.
And your next chapter. So what happened at MEA?
Yeah. So, you know, when I had let me back up. So in February of this year, I decided that I was going to scale back Unsweetened a bit. I stopped my e-com and I also stopped most of my boutique business, which means that I didn't come out with 5 lines a year, and I stopped selling online. I just needed to get some relief. And that was a really big thing for me to make that decision. And to focus on the sports and the hotels and all, you know, more custom business, which I'm currently still doing, which is great. At the same time, I decided that I wanted to start sharing this journey of what's been going on and, like the under the hood version, really what's going on, because I could sense that people were like, I wonder what's happening with Nora or Unsweetened. And how do you put that into words, right? So what I came up with is I did a little mini deck, like a 1-pager, and I talking about my journey and what I wanted to talk about. And I sent it to a bunch of, meanwhile, I had zero expertise at all in what was on this thing, except my own story, right? I never did podcasts. I never did speaking engagements, but this 1-pager was like, hey, you want to hire me? You want to have me come on and speak, and like, I'll do a retreat or whatever. So I sent it to all these people, very reminiscent of how I started Unsweetened, with zero plan, just like feeling aligned, feeling just in flow. I sent it to Chip Conley because I heard him on Rich Roll, and he was talking about this midlife chrysalis and how we get to this point in our life and we're like questioning and we're evaluating where we're at and what we built and what wisdom we have and how we have this opportunity for this next chapter. And he was just like, oh, fuck, yes, like I feel that. So he invited me out there, and it was like a very strange time because we were moving. And the minute I committed, I was regretful, fear, anxiety,
terrified,
panic, absolute terror. I even called and told them, like I emailed, I was like, yeah, I don't think the dates are going to work. Like I wanted a way out. I was so scared. And mind you, I had gone on some pretty significant psychedelic journeys, like that would make people's mind blow. Like this was not that. So I didn't know what was scaring me. Anyway, a week after we moved, I hopped on a plane to New Mexico, and I didn't really know what I was expecting at all. I didn't know, but I felt very in my power. Esther, I was like, Nora, you are the best you've ever been. Like you are the best you've ever been. You feel good physically, mentally, like you're in a great space. And I went, and the first workshop day ripped me into shreds. I sat down in that room and I didn't know anybody. You don't say what you do. You just know everyone's first name. Nobody talks about their accolades or what their business is. It's not that. But in my mind, which took me off guard, I was like, oh my God, everyone here is better than me, is more successful, is smarter, and I didn't know where that was coming from. It was not something that I had ever experienced. I always felt so confident about my being in a room, but this room, I didn't. This room was different. I felt less than. I felt unworthy. I felt not smart enough, not good enough, not successful, without even knowing anything about these people. This was my own inner shit. And I was so distraught over feeling this. I was like, I don't understand. What the fuck is this? Like, where is this coming from? I don't normally feel like this. Where is this coming from? So anyway, it came from a lot of different places of my younger self, which is not for this podcast. But what is for this podcast is that experience was, that day was really hard. I meditated. The next day, I showed up differently. Even one of my friends that I met there, she was like, I didn't even recognize you the next day. You had such a different energy. She's like, you seemed like a different person yesterday. That's because I was like shriveling in the chair, literally. And part of the journey there was like, do something that scares you, do something that's hard or that you don't want to do. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do horseback riding. And I didn't really know why I was so scared of it. I didn't know what I was feeling about why I wanted to do this, because I've never ridden a horse in my life. And I never wanted to, but for some reason, I was drawn to getting on this horse.
Named Stetson.
And so I showed up for this horseback riding, and I had a great outfit on. I mean, I did. My outfit was
of course you did.
Kick-ass. I had the hat, it was great.
Were you in chaps with a crop?
No,
I mean, what are we talking here?
I was just, had a cute embroidered top and a cute hat, and just like, it was like perfect outfit for horseback riding. And I was with a few other people from my group. And anyway, I get on this horse, huge, big black horse. Everyone is saddled up. We're ready to go. And I immediately feel in every fiber of my being this feeling of, Nora, what are you doing? Like, it was like this immediate shockwave through my body of like, get off the fucking horse. What are you doing on this horse? And we had already left the stable. We are on the path of like an hour or so ride. I have all these people with us. And I was like, excuse me, Joe. Her name was Joe. She was lovely. I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to need to get off the horse. And she was like, you need to readjust. I was like, no, I need to actually get off the horse right now. And she's like, oh, okay. And she's like, I guess you guys wait here and I'll take you back, Nora. And it was such an amazing moment, Esther, because never in my life would a decision like that be made without me thinking about the repercussions of what that decision made. Oh my God, I'm putting out these other people. Nora, you're not following through. You're a failure. You failed the mission. All of the inner dialogue that we have in our mind of the self-loathing when we don't carry through for whatever reason, whether we're people-pleasing or trying to please ourselves, but not listening to that inner intuition. We all have moments when we're like, we know in our fucking heart that we're not supposed to do something, and then we do it anyway. And then we're like, why did I do that? What was the purpose for me doing that? But this wasn't that moment. This moment was like, nope, not today. I'm not riding this fucking horse today, and I may never ride a horse. And in that moment, it was like the universe opened up to me. It was unbelievable. And she walked me back and she tied up Stetson. And mind you, again, this was completely sober, no psychedelics. I haven't done psychedelics in a while. It was no drinking. And I sat there and he was making all these noises, the horse, and I was still scared. I was scared of this guy, and then I just brushed him and I talked with him, and it was like we just locked eyes, and this horse was like communicating with me on a level of like peace and stillness and fierceness and grace. And instead of picking up my phone, because I was uncomfortable through this, it was like I was all settled. My nervous system, I felt uncomfortable. And I just picked up my sketch pad, which was a journal, and I started sketching this horse. And I didn't escape the moment. I didn't escape the feeling. I didn't pick up that fucking phone, which is what I would normally do. And in that moment, I just realized, God, Nora, just get off the horse. And it became such a metaphor for me in so many ways, because it's the opposite of what we're kind of told. We're told, get back on the horse, right? And that might work sometimes, but sometimes we have to pay attention to what our body and our whole cells are telling us, and to pay attention and just be like, even if it's an inconvenience to other people, is to listen to that and say, not today.
Well, and I wonder from that experience, how many other people on that ride thought, I could do that if I wanted to, or had future experiences where they were like, Nora got off the horse, so I can actually do that too. Because it goes back to your roots at Unsweetened, and your whole ethos is just the giving yourself permission to say the dark things, to feel the dark things, to be lying under the desk, to get off the horse. And like, feelings never kill us, right? They're fucking uncomfortable. I hate a lot of those feelings. So uncomfortable, but they're our greatest teacher and our greatest purpose. And this horse, Stetson, the fact that you got off it was probably a relief. It got off him was probably a relief for him too, because he's like, I literally don't have to carry Nora, the weight of Nora, not your physical weight, your spiritual weight. And he could just heal you. I mean, horses are incredibly healing. We know this. So he actually was probably like, thank you, Nora, because now I can actually heal you because I can see you. You're not on my back behind me. And then, and your photos, I mean, you guys have to follow Nora on Instagram on her Unsweet New York, because you have your pictures of Stetson, the journal, and the whole story. And you ended up doing this beautiful post for Chip and MEA on a whole write-up on your experience that just,
they did a beautiful post. It was a beautiful experience, not only for me, but my whole cohort that I was there with, everyone named our cohort Just Get Off the Horse. Like, it was a beautiful moment. And so what it did was it just allowed me to kind of file through things that were happening in my life. And it was like, stay on the horse, get off the horse, stay on the horse, get off the horse, with such undeniable clarity. And I think that's what I love the most about how I feel, is the clarity of what feels right and what feels wrong. It's either like an absolute hell yes or a fuck no. And if it's in between, then it's still a fuck no, because my mother always said, when in doubt, do nothing. So, that. It is, and I'm constantly learning, and I'm not afraid I'm no longer afraid to what the optics are, or what it's going to look like. What I'm sharing and what I'm offering, whether it's Unsweetened or whether it's something else, like, I'm always giving 110% of my heart and soul. And, I don't know how else to show up. Like, that's the best authentic way. So if it's not for someone, it's okay. Like, I think that's the piece, is like, it's not going to be for everyone. Whatever the evolution of Unsweetened is, it's not going to be for everyone, but it's going to be for the badass ones, and it's going to be for the right ones. And in that comes the peace.
That's right. And from that whole experience with getting off the horse is now launching retreats and a book, a really incredible memoir that, I mean, Nora, is like, I always say to you, you are the most fascinating person I know. We'll be having dinner and all of a sudden you just start rattling off these stories. I'm like, wait, back up. What? Like, what did you just say? You just have such power and ferocity. And so you're going to be sharing those gifts with other women and giving women the space to heal and to feel the feels and to grow and push outside their comfort zones.
Yeah.
So what does that look like, and where can people go to learn more?
That's a good question. So I am working on a book, a memoir, which is of course called Just Get Off the Horse. Which is wild, because I never in a million years, I don't think I've ever, I've illustrated your cover of your book. I've never read it. I'm not a reader.
Nora, let me time out for a second. Nora is the illustrator for See You Later, Ovulator, which was just unbelievable. Like, no one else has been able to go into my head. And the cover has a uterus with wings and a zipper down the front and these goth letters. I mean, it was so kick ass. And so, I mean, oh my God, I was like, Nora, if I my inner Esther is like, just like nerdy little Esther from Connecticut, but like you bring out my inner badass. And so, yes, sidebar there, but okay, go on. So you were illustrating Stetson. You were talking about that.
Oh, no, So for me, like writing a book was never on my bingo card ever. Like
Right.
I'm a designer.
Yeah.
So part of this journey has been allowing myself, we get to this point in our life. We're like, I'm a lawyer. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a that.
Yeah.
Well, what if we allowed ourselves to think beyond what we've always been?
Yeah.
What would we be? What could we be? And how could maybe I don't feel creative to build a fashion line of new shirts right now, but if I could possibly channel that creativity into my storytelling. And that's where I had that aha moment of like, oh yeah, it's time. Yeah. It's time. So I'm working on that. Now I will mind you, don't ask me a million questions about the how, because I don't fucking know how. I am truly like raw dogging this experience. I've never written a book. I've never written a memoir. I actually had to Google even what a memoir was. But I feel very similar to the space I was when I started Unsweetened. I feel like it's time, it's right, and it'll all just unfold. So don't ask me when that's happening, but I would love it to be soon. Or how. I'm not worried about that.
No, because you are as attached. The energy you feel is the exact energy I had when I wrote Eat, Drink, and Be Gorgeous. It took me 5 years to find an agent and land a publisher. And there were times when I put it down, I was like, fuck it, this is never getting done. I'm cool with that. But when you have that inner knowing, you just know. You're like, it's not an if or it's not how, it's just a when.
Yeah.
And you're such an amazing storyteller. I mean, Nora makes me laugh and laugh. Like if people heard me on my morning walks, we talk on the phone 1 to 2 mornings a week, and I'm literally like doubled over cackling on the streets of my town in the trees. And you are such a raw and real magnificent storyteller.
Well,
and so I can't even wait for this book to come out. And I'm fully believing that the people will be put in your path who need to be. You're so well connected, and there's so many people who, your mom included, who just want it to be done and are like, oh no, girl, this shit's happening. So you just, all of you listening, like when you have this magic inside you, get it out. If you've ever read that book, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, she always talks about how, if you don't do this, somebody else will. Yeah. But your stories, nobody can actually tell your story, Nora, because it's yours and yours alone, and no one else has had your experiences. And your experiences are fascinating. They're so funny. I mean, we can go on and on. But
thank you.
Where can people find you to learn more?
Well,
where are you living these days?
Find me at, of course, Unsweetened New York on Instagram. Of course, the website. I have branched out, and I was reluctant to start my own Instagram, which is Nora Neiterman, at Nora Neiterman. I don't have any posts yet. I'm still a work in progress, figuring out kind of where I am and what I am doing, and coming away from the Unsweetened piece and just being Nora Neiterman. So bear with me on what that's going to look like. But there's a lot of magic in the mess. And I think that if women could get comfortable in just the messy part and talk about it, let's talk about it. Because you're not alone.
You're not alone. I'm so grateful you're here. I love you, my queen.
Love you so much. Thank you
so much.
And I just love everything you're doing. And thank you for saving me through menopause. That's another, we didn't even talk about menopause and hormones. Yeah, we have to do another one for that, because that is also a big savior of how I'm here.
Yeah, you got on that menopause horse.
Oh,
and
hell
that
yeah.
really saved.
Oh, and I'm never getting off that fucking horse.
No, but we'll do another part on that.
Thank you, Mom. I love you.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast today. If you enjoyed the show, Please subscribe, leave a review, or visit estherblum.com/podcast.